Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'd like some Mathilda May, please.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Lifeforce, which came out in 1985, based on the novel by Colin Wilson, written by Don Jacoby and Dan O'Bannon, and directed by Tobe Hooper. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows the HMS Churchill, which has gone to the tail end of Halley's Comet and come across an alien spacecraft. Their commander has taken back to the ship 3 bodies that have been held in suspended animation. The female of this species will get to Earth and will start to steal the life force of everybody, and it's down to a race against time to stop her before the world is doomed.
What are you gonna do? We're going in.
Tobe Hooper, massively successful with Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
We're still undecided as to what really happened on the set of Poltergeist. Was it Tobe Hooper? Was it Steven Spielberg? We all knew then, though, that Tobe Hooper had a kind of a drug issue.
Yeah.
And that kind of bled into this film as well, where there's reports of people saying that Tobe Hooper didn't have a fucking clue what he was doing at the beginning of this film, and
Was he just on loads of cocaine?
I think so, yeah. Or he was on withdrawal from it, and so therefore was, but then others have said that he was a consummate professional, that he had little sleep, existed on caffeine, and just ploughed through the 6 months of production of this film.
Yeah.
And that is that this film went way over budget.
Yeah.
To the point where a lot of actors were on set going, I'm not even getting paid today. But we're still expected to keep working, and there was potential walkouts. A lot of the film also wasn't finished, which explains why there's characters that disappear from it. It was a little bit of a troubled production, but the team knew that they were onto something special.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of sad then that this film was a financial sinkhole for Canon Films. And it was one of the big 3 that kind of ended the studio, along with Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and He-Man Masters of the Universe.
Oh.
And that kind of destroyed this film studio, which was an independent studio, really. It existed outside of, the Hollywood sphere of making movies.
Yeah.
But they offered Tobe Hooper a kind of a 3-picture deal. They were like, you get to do Lifeforce, and then Invaders from Mars.
I love that movie.
And then he got to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And, but unfortunately, Lifeforce was the one that also tanked Tobe Hooper's career, because none of his subsequent films after this one even did very well.
I do not get that. I think Lifeforce has always been there in my life. In the background. I remember seeing the poster in my local video store, and it was a specific designed one. You look down from the 3 suspended bodies, and it said Lifeforce, and I'm like, I need to see that. But I heard that there was a lot of sex in it. There was a lot of nudity. So at such a young age, even though I was watching movies I shouldn't have been watching, I wasn't allowed to watch Lifeforce.
Sure.
Over the subsequent years, as I grew up, I'd catch snippets of it here and there on TV, but I'd not know what it was and be like, what the hell's going on? Maybe a talking sequence between some characters, or an explosion here and there. Never really understood what was going on until maybe early 20s, almost 30s, actually. I got around to actually watching Lifeforce. And since that moment, I was like, fucking love this movie. I love this movie. I mean, I watched this movie about 4 weeks ago. It was on Netflix, and I'm like, I'm going to watch Lifeforce. And he told me off. He's like, dude, you told everybody you were going to watch it, and we've got to do it for a review, And I'm like, I'll watch it again. I can watch it a second time. So sitting down for the review, it's a masterpiece, actually. It's a masterpiece of sci-fi horror. Just to start with the music rolling you in, you're like, okay, sounds pretty epic. And then you've got that space shuttle, the HMS Churchill, a conjoined group between Britain and America to go into space. Okay, yeah, it is basically a shuttle with solar wings and an engine stuck to the bottom. But you get this whole narration explaining to you about the sci-fi behind this shuttle.
Absolutely, yeah. And then they pick up this giant penis-shaped ship on the radar, and they're like, this thing's like 150 miles long.
Yeah.
And like 2 miles wide. They're like, let's go check it out.
That's just classic.
It's like, you know, they found this thing at like the front or at the tail of
At the tail
Halley's
end
Comet.
of Halley's Comet, yeah.
And they try to radio back to Earth, and it's like, no, they can't read it.
No,
So it's
of
like,
course
all
there's no
right, it's like,
communication.
we're going in without telling anyone.
Well, I mean, there's something going on in the background, isn't there?
Well, it's something, yeah, that would just keep coming up throughout the film, is that they feel compelled to. There's an attraction to it.
You especially Carlson, played by Steve Railsback. I mean, he's your main character throughout this film. But you know, they've gone out there to look at Halley's Comet, and I did read that, you know, Tobe Hooper had seen what it was in the book and changed it.
It was an asteroid belt, yeah.
Yeah, where Halley's Comet was in real life was going to pass the Earth in like a year's time. So by the time of the film's release, you know, it'd be together. And they're coming across this object. You know, Steve Railsback is just like, we need to go aboard. Oh, but we can't communicate with anybody. Yes, but, you know, we should totally check it out. And I'm like, of course you should. You're space scientists.
I'm like, well, this was written by Dan O'Bannon.
Yeah, yeah, missed that.
Of course they're going to go on board and find something and bring it back on board.
Yeah, and it's going to be some kind of evil alien zombie thing, which is going to rip people apart and do some damage, and I'm along for the ride.
Well, they didn't have Ridley Scott to do the set design for this one.
You can totally see that, yes.
But they did have John Dykstra, who is pretty much a legend in the special effects, you know, of cinema.
Yeah.
Mainly with Star Wars, you know, he created the lightsabers as we saw them.
Nice.
Along with lots of other practical effects that he had done. And, you know, he was behind a lot of the optical work. And so when you see the shuttle and you see the spaceship.
Yeah.
But they also were very much aware of Alien. And they were like, we're not going to do Giga. Like,
no.
It's sacrilege to emulate that. But,
I did
they
look...
did, you know, it did feel similar.
Yeah, I did look at the alien ship, you know, specifically this time around. And I'm looking for details. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, it just looks like the alien ship. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. You know, you're definitely in Uncanny Valley where the astronauts completely stand out from the background, but for this time, you know, mid-80s, it works for what it's trying to sell to me. You know, the astronauts go in and they start coming across carcasses, desiccated bodies of bat-like creatures, thousands of them. Just
it looked like they just kind of dropped into hell.
Yeah. These things have died of something, and I love the fact that, like, there is nobody scared aboard. You know, these astronauts are like, nope. Let's carry on. Let's bag one of these up.
I love that. It's like it was putting a net over it.
Yeah. But this creature itself is obviously like a red herring. And a lot of these will turn up in the movie. The ship itself awakens, you know, or is being controlled because the door inside opens. And Carlson is just like, we need to go in there. And his second in command's like, why? You know, Carlson's already gone. He's inside. But you fully tell that, you know, whatever is compelling him to come into this room is powerful, because we go in there, we come across the 3 suspended bodies in this giant room.
They seem to be in some sort of suspended animation or sleep.
Hold up, we're coming down.
There's so many sort of glass chambers, and you can see, like, is there silhouettes is there people in all of these?
No. These are the only 3.
Yeah, but there's a great big spotlight on them, but you can see all the others in the background, and I'm just like, are they all dead inside?
Or yeah, actually, I didn't think of that. Maybe they're, yeah.
Is that like the rest of the crew that just have, you know, have just not made it?
These are the very last 3. The rest of them are all.
But then I'm just like, did the ship just create these 3? If they because they're so perfectly preserved, or
maybe they need awakening?
And why do they look human? We get introduced to Mathilda May, who is very naked and will remain very naked
throughout the film, which is a great selling point.
Yeah, it's a big bonus.
But once they decide to take the bodies back to the Churchill, we cut to Earth. And we're told that they have no communication with the Churchill. It's coming into orbit. And we need to send up another crew in the Columbia to check them out. And once they get up there, they come across the destroyed inside of the Churchill. But the 3 bodies are perfectly preserved. And they bring them back to the European Space Center. And we get introduced to Dr. Faraday, who, obviously, great actor, recognized him from The Pianist And I was sat there, and the amount of times I've seen this movie, this guy is like, you're kind of perfect, a compliment for you. You know, there's a lot of science I found in this movie, watching this time round, that kind of needs to be explained to you how this works. You know, so they're explaining about how the three bodies are held in these kind of crystal cases, but they're not really there.
No, they're kind of like force fields.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I can see them, but they're like, yeah, but they've got no kind of, they've got no matter, you know, they've got no
physicality to them at all.
Yeah. And once they get the girl out, they say, oh, it just unlocked. We walked up to it and it just unlocked, and now we're going to perform an autopsy on her. And so they take the girl to the autopsy, and we see, I mean, her compelling of the guard.
Well, it's quite a bit of a shock moment where, you know, the guard, he's all sweaty.
Oh yeah,
you know,
he should totally not be in that room.
He's in there
with her.
He's just like, what is he doing? Oh, he's gone to cop a feel of a dead girl. But, you know, we find out that that's because these three aliens have this alluring kind of pheromone, that this brain control that they have. They just have this effect on...
Yeah.
It would seem like men that are just sexually drawn to them in a way that's beyond comprehension.
Yes.
And so,
I'll go with that.
He's trying to resist her, like most men would be trying, but failing.
Why am I forced to come in and touch her? And she wakens.
She wakes up, you know, she sits up, fully topless, and she goes to make out with him, and he seems kind of hesitant at first, but...
I mean, we've seen Alien a lot. You know, you'd never put a face hugger on your face willingly.
No.
But what if the face hugger
looked like
this girl, you know, and she's like, use my body. You're like...
Use my body.
Okay. But we then see the initial draining of the life force, and oh man, it's just awesome. You get the mixture of the crazy electric blue special effects and his skin completely just, you know, shrunken down into a crazy shell, and she just disposes it on the body onto the floor, and yeah, it's plastic prosthetic effects, but it looks class.
Yeah.
And one of the other scientists, Dr. Bukowski, he's been watching this whole thing, and so he goes rushing down there, and then Dr. Faraday obviously hears it, and he races off, and the girl she's just walking straight through the place.
Yeah, it's like a military facility, and she's just casually strolling through. I mean, credit to Mathilda May. You know, she was a 19-year-old actress.
Wow.
She was also French and couldn't speak English.
Okay.
You know, and
naked,
and also naked. You know, and that was because Tobe Hooper and company, they auditioned like 50 women for the role.
You say she was French, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the French. Yeah.
And, you know, and all the British actors that turned up for the role, they were all like, well, I'm not taking my clothes off. That's not proper. You know? So they started hiring in loads of American actresses to come over, German actresses to come over, and they all unionized on the plane and then went, nah, we ain't taking our clothes off for no crummy B-movie. And so then they were like, right, well, we've got this French actor that's come over and doesn't speak the language, and they gave her the role, and then they told her to take her clothes off, and she was like... Oh, she ran off to call her agent, and the agent was just like, look, it's a British production, you're in good hands, go with it, this could be a big break for you. And she did it. You know, she was a ballerina dancer, but you know, she still had to have some courage to be in a country, you know, far away from her parents for the first time, didn't speak the language, then strip naked and do that for 6 months.
But in all fairness, the scenes in which she is naked are very well done.
Yeah.
You know, like the initial ones on board the space shuttle, we're not talking about 500 people staring at her.
That was actually just a body cast. It wasn't even her in that thing.
Even better. That's just a body cast, you know. I always believed it was her, just the three actors in those cases. But then again, on this army set, you know, it's at night, and there's only a few guards. And probably the set guys. And the way that she delivers this performance of walking through, she's an alien to this place.
She's like a Terminator.
Oh, hell yeah. With fucking force powers. Because she walks up to these three guards, and they're, you know, the chummy British guards having their break, you know. Oh, what did you say? She's naked? Nah, shut up, mate. You know, what the hell's that? Oh my God, you know, and
He's offering it a cookie, like,
come on, like, you know, and you would as well. You're thinking, oh yeah, nah, just a naked girl. This is easy to take down. And then she just force chokes him, takes him out, and then force electrocutes the next guy. And the old man behind her is just like, fuck that, I'm not touching it.
It's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah. I mean, obviously none of them pulled a gun, but would you in that situation initially, unless there's alarm bells going off?
She shatters that entire wall of glass. And then, barefoot walks right out through it.
Yeah, I was hoping that was all sugar glass.
No, it was actually real glass.
Oh, what the
But they actually attached rubber soles to her feet that you couldn't see so that she could effortlessly.
I really thought about that. I was just like, shit, that actress is going to walk right on all that glass.
No.
You know?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So we then get introduced to Colonel Kane, Peter Firth, and a lot of people might have actually realised at this point that everybody on board the Churchill is dead, you know, and we have this girl. And, you know, Dr. Faraday gives this complete explanation to Kane. Why he believes Dr. Pekowski is, you know, feeling the way he is and what happened to this guard. That the girl has drained the life force, boom, right there, you know, out of these men, and we need to stop her. And they put the male vampires under lock and key, but the male vampires wake up, and, you know, British guards at their best just unload into these guys, you know.
That doesn't stop them. You see the bullet holes, everything. These
No,
aliens
man,
just
these
keep
are
coming.
Crazy alien shit, you know. You've seen The Hidden. These things don't just stop to nothing. But it's the grenades I love.
Right.
You know, it's just like, we really need to try something. And they blow them up. And Dr. Faladay's just like, right, okay, you know, we're going to have to study the other corpse. And one of the greatest sequences, I believe, in horror sci-fi history is where they're about to do the autopsy on the body, and it awakens.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things where when you're first time watching it, you're like, you're really taken by surprise.
Return of the Living Dead, man.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
right there, you know?
It absolutely looks like a puppet from Return of the Living Dead. And you're like, well, Dan O'Bannon again.
Yeah.
And it comes up and it's all animated, and you just, you know, there was a ton of puppeteers behind the scenes with pulleys and ropes and things just to make it work.
And it compels the doctor over.
You know, everyone's just like in shock. But yeah, the puppet monster dead guard thing grabs hold one of the others, and then that begins like the life force.
Yeah, just drains it off of him.
Right, yeah.
And I've forgotten how well detailed it is, you know, watching his face start to kind of come back, and the draining of the doctor.
It's like morphing technology almost, but yeah, you can see that the prosthetic works as well, and then basically he gets his life force back, and then he drops the scientist, and so the guard is just like, I'm fine,
yeah. But Dr. Faladay's just like, I'm seeing a pattern here, and we get a report that there's been a naked girl found out in Hyde Park in London, and she's been completely drained. And when they bring the girl back to base, you know, Dr. Faraday is just like, right, we're going to wait for we're going to wait 2 hours, and we watch the guard, the initial guard who'd been drained, who's brought himself back. He drains again.
Yeah.
And becomes a desiccated
It's another
husk.
amazing effect, just watching him deflate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all the air or liquids just drained out of him.
Yeah.
And then they prod him, don't they? And he's just dust.
It's just dust. You know, he has to maintain this life force drain, or he will die again.
But then the scientist that he had drained is also in this other cell, and he vamps out.
Oh, he just runs straight at the fence and just explodes, and you're like, shit. You know, when you become a desiccated husk, you still have kind of strength in you, because the girl's body is now on the bed, and she just starts awakening and rapidly pulling herself all over the place, and then just blows herself up.
Those sequences are amazing.
Yeah, it really puts into you that you need to stop this girl.
Yeah.
Like, right now, this is a breakout of a kind of virus that will destroy everything in a matter of hours. We then get reports that there's been an escape pod found from the Churchill, and Colonel Carlson returns to us, and he's ill. You can tell he's ill, and everybody's just like, we need information. What the hell happened up there? And he's just like, I can tell you what I can know. You know, it's mostly fragments, and I'm just like, you did something bad.
Right.
You know, always off the bat. You know, after everything I've just seen from what this girl done, and you survived, there's something up there. And he talks about how, you know, the crew start to feel drained, the communications are destroyed. Somebody gets their life force drained, and then the whole crew is dead.
Yeah.
And he's the last guy, and he decides that he's going to set fire to the whole thing and try to destroy the body so it doesn't get back to Earth.
There was a sequence where it kind of does the flashback, and they're talking to the crew member, and they're like, why did you do it? Why did you do, you know? And he's just like, I don't remember. And I'm like, wow, the acting there is really awful. But then later on you find out that he was lying about that flashback.
Yeah.
So we were given false information. I'm like, well, that kind of explains why his acting was really bad, because that didn't actually happen.
I've been feeling weak recently. Not myself. Just don't remember.
That's my way of justifying. I'm like, that actor's really good then.
No, I mean they're just
But
background 80s.
Interestingly, all of those flashbacks and all those sequences were all at the beginning of the film, and it just played it all the way through to him getting in the escape pod.
Oh, right.
But you know, the film was over 2 hours long, and the studio was like, okay, it's fine in Europe, but the American audiences aren't going to like that.
No.
So they literally cut like 30 to 40 minutes out of the film, including all the spaceship stuff, where it was just a wall of text that came up on the screen instead.
No.
And it just kind of skipped it all.
I actually prefer it not being at the beginning, because, you know, when you find out that Carlson's alive, you know, he, like I said, he's your main guy. And he having it would have been too much at the beginning, him destroying the ship. It does leave the mystery. You start to realize that Carlson is connected to her because, you know, he has that dream sequence. And, you know, another great Mathilda May sequence where she's terrifying but beautiful at the same time, you know, and you have this soft core porn sequence where he's just rubbing all over her, but she's draining him. You know, she's draining him of his life force, and he wants to break her. You know, he doesn't actually want to be with her, unlike, you know, some other classic horror victims.
Right. Well, yeah, he explains that leaving her was the hardest thing he's ever had to do.
Yeah.
Because of the pull, the psychological torment almost. Like, it's beyond his control.
Yeah.
And that is the effect that this creature is having on him.
No, you don't understand. Part of me didn't want to leave. She killed all my friends, and I still didn't want to leave. Leaving her was the hardest thing I ever did.
Her spirit has left her body.
Yes.
You know, and she's now, you know, Carlson has this psychic connection where her spirit is in a new body.
Well, they hypnotize him.
Yeah.
And so that he can, because he's got that telepathic connection with
Yeah.
her, that he can sort of report back under hypnosis what's happening.
Yeah.
And she kind of hitchhikes almost. She picks up that guy,
Yeah.
gets in the car with him, and you get the
Ooh.
whole skirt coming up and hand groping whilst driving.
Yeah.
But they kind of figure out where in the country she is. And they get the license plate of the car and the make of the car, and then they head off to go and find her.
This sequence, I did always kind of think dragged the movie.
Yeah, I will admit that. And I'm kind of, you know, after the film's finished, I'm sat there going, why did she put her spirit into that body?
Well,
why her?
Like I said, I used to think it dragged the movie, but watching this for the review, I actually realized that this is actually quite pinnacle, because we learned that this is a power that they have. You know, she can put her body in one place and then jump in spirit to, you know, with the return of the alien ship, start to gather life force, you know, souls from the earth. You know, I look at this part of her trying to remain hidden. You know, her walking around naked, not knowing what the hell she's doing, draining life force out of every motherfucker she comes across, compelled to throw themselves at her, is a big target to say, I'm an alien, come right here. We're hiding in an alien body. And then, you know, the car sequence where she just kind of drags up. The guy's just like, what? You know, and we hear later that, you know, he's exhausted. You know, he can't remember what happened all afternoon. And they go to Thurston Hospital, which is a hospital for the criminally insane, and we get introduced to Dr. Armstrong, played by Patrick Stewart. You know, he's kind of he definitely is kind of a background character. But his sequence is amazing, you know, because they go to the nurse and Carlson realizes that she's jumped again. You know, this whole sequence is kind of violent. Like the girl, there's still a bit inside the girl trying to get with him.
It's weird because he's just like, she's a masochist. She likes a bit of rough treatment.
Yeah, and we can find out that Colonel Kane's a voyeur and just sit there and watch it. And I'm like,
she wants me to hurt her. I can see the images in her mind. Do you want to stay? Otherwise, wait outside.
Not at all. I am a natural voyeur.
This is hyper-sexualized all of a sudden, more so.
Dokey, but he realizes that she's jumped, and he gets a description of the guy that jumped, the aliens jumped into. But then when they go there, they get to the guy. He's, you know, completely wrapped up in bed in his own straitjacket, and they grab Dr. Armstrong instead, because he had put his hand on Carlson's shoulder at one point, and Carlson's obviously read the mind and realized that the alien's trapped in there, and they need to just sedate her, put her down. They need to find where her body is. They need to stop this before it gets completely out of hand.
It's just funny watching Patrick Stewart flail around on the floor while he sat on top of him.
His head off.
Just like,
I mean, he kirks it up in this.
A little bit, yeah.
There's our killer, Sir Percy.
They take him and they put him in the lab, and they tell the other doctor, like, go and get more of that drug.
Yeah.
We need to keep him topped up on that. Like, one injection ain't enough. Go get 3 more.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, what?
That's a bit much.
And so he starts kind of interviewing the alien. This is also Patrick Stewart's first ever on-screen kiss.
Wow. I did kind of... At one point, I was watching, like, they're gonna...
Yeah. Because the alien's still inside, but it's like, it's one of those scenes like from Poltergeist where the whole room, you know, all the furniture starts flying, fans blowing.
It was all blue. I totally sat there watching like, it's Poltergeist all over again. Wow, I never realized this. The doctor even opens up the door at one point. It's like, oh! But I do like the jump sequences between the girl and Dr. Armstrong talking to Carlson, and Carlson screamed out, "Where are you? Where are you?" And she just compels him to her. And then, after kissing Patrick Stewart, which I could probably, Picard, make it so. he blows the room and kills the Prime Minister. No, he wasn't the Prime Minister. He was the kind of the Secretary of Defense that had come with Kane and Carlson. And they decide to take the bodies on board the helicopter. Oh my fucking God, Patrick Stewart. I mean, oh my God.
It's actually one of my favourite sequences in the film. Where all of a sudden they just start gushing blood out of their eyes, nose, mouth. It starts to create this sort of bloody blob that's floating in the helicopter.
Like, what the fuck?
The pilot turns around and he's like, what the fuck? Almost crashes the helicopter. But the blood, it forms Mathilda May's space girl.
Yeah.
The alien. And again, the actress, she said in interviews, like, that was her birthday. That was her, 19th or 20th birthday.
Oh, I'd love to get
And she spent 8 hours getting into that suit for that shot. And it's a,
totally worth it.
Complete sort of latex suit, head to toe, with veins, attached to it and blood pumping out of it. And it's like, it's a great effect that's on screen for like 5 to 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's gone again. I was just like, geez, that's frightening and it's horrific looking, and then the bucket of blood on the floor afterwards.
Yeah. It pulls in this whole connection. Carlson and the space girl have a connection. She wants him to find her, and he wants to find her, but for 2 totally different reasons. They reveal that while on board the ship, Carlson was under her control, under her spell, and she took something from him while on board the ship, but gave her a part of herself, and she wants it back because now she's in London and she's doing what she's made to do. She is claiming the souls of everybody around her And the males, we find out, had jumped from their bodies when they had died initially into the bodies of the guards.
Right. And they'd also broken out into the city now.
Yeah, well, one guard has gone to Dr. Faraday, and Dr. Faraday has had to nail him with a giant fucking ancient lead sword straight to the, not to the heart, ha ha ha, no, not to the heart, to the energy center of the body. It's the only way to properly kill them. And I'm like,
so they're definitely not like vampires then?
No, definitely not. The space vampires, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one is running around the streets of London just fucking shit up.
Yeah.
I love this whole end sequence, this whole apocalyptic.
I know. I was like, well, they only left yesterday.
Yeah, but we knew from the start that's all it kind of takes with this virus. You know, you go out there, one person gets taken down, 2 hours later they're getting up and they're taking down another person, and so on and so forth. And even like you can look at the detail of some of the bodies in the background. Some of them are damaged. Some of them are half and mid out of feeding. Like, I was thinking this while I was watching the film. If you've been hit by Lifeforce, do you wait the 2 hours or do you just feed again? Yeah, it kind of exhilarates you. It makes you feel good. You know, you're compelled. They're not as strong as the female. The female, she starts to send the energy up to the collector, which I have no idea about. Like, who's in control of the ship? Are they?
Is the ship sentient? Is it?
That's right.
Who's running things up there? Or is it automated?
Are they powering, like you said, the rest of the crew who are in the background? Or are these the only three and they need another food source to get back to their planet? I have no idea.
Kind of taken aback by the spectacle of it all.
Yes.
You know, the miniature of London.
Yeah.
All of the lighting effects. You know, you watch that double-decker bus go up in a fucking explosion of fire.
Yeah, I heard they used a village that was actually gonna be demolished, which I was just like, oh, awesome. This is a destructible set.
Well, actually, it wasn't. They were told they can't damage or touch any of the model that the miniature of London.
Oh, right.
So they actually flew over from America. Loads of miniatures. They built the set that they could explode with the backdrop of the miniature set, which was actually already there.
Yeah.
So but they worked around it, and they did a wonder with that, with the actual live action stuff as well.
Yeah.
There was some green screen stuff in the background, but watching all these extras run around in all of that makeup, all the varying stages of decomposition.
See, if you put this up with Quartermass and the Pit,
well,
their apocalyptic sequence, it's astounding. People were able to do this. I know Tobe Hooper may have been high on cocaine and blowing money out of his asshole, but his work behind this set, the army officers sitting there going, look, we quarantined London. If this carries on, we're nuking the planet.
Right.
We're nuking the city. And Carlson's just like, I need to get to the girl. And Kane's like, okay. And they split off. Carlson goes off on his thing to try and find the girl because he sees the beam of light and he's just like, she's there?
Yeah.
Nuke that, if anything. But Kane is just like, I need to go to speak to Dr. Faraday, because he's got more information to me. And he goes to Faraday. And I always kind of feel bad that the aliens jumped into Faraday's body. But Faraday is still kind of in control.
A little bit, yeah. Now, Faraday's one of my favourite characters in the whole film.
Yeah.
Just because he's the scientist guy. He's the one who's trying to figure out if there's life after death, about the life force energy, what it is, how it works, how this species work. Yeah, and he's kind of also excited to die now because he's just kind of got this affirmation that something happens afterwards.
Yeah.
And he kind of falls over and it explodes out of his back.
He just nails him right in the stump energy point.
That's right,
with his gun. And then when Kane heads downstairs with the sword, you just see the zombies kind of stand up like, Soul, and you're like, run! And he has to be chased through the streets. Carlson's driving on his way. I think is it St. Paul's Cathedral that they get to?
Yeah.
And when they pull up outside, there's just bodies all on the steps.
But they're all exhausted.
Drained. I mean, Carlson goes inside and he starts to make his way down to the girl. And Kane turns up and the male is there. you know, and gives this almighty speech. I couldn't believe that, you know, one of the male vampires is Mick Jagger's brother.
Right, yeah.
You know, I was just like, wow, that's cool.
Well, they originally wanted Billy Idol for the part, but...
Oh, yeah! Man, that'd have been awesome! Billy Idol just stood there in the front of the church like, you can't stop us! And the guy's like, F you, man! This end sequence, though, is an acid trip because he races in there and Carlson and the girl are just making out. You know, she kind of wants to finish Carlson off.
Giggity giggity.
Well, she's kind of taking some... Well, we're imagining she's taking her energy back that she gave him earlier. But then she explains to him that he's actually one of them.
Yeah, like it harkens back to the line in the beginning where he's like, I had a feeling like I've been here before.
I almost have the feeling I've been here before.
See, I thought that was a joke because it looked like they were going down the birth canal.
I thought that as well, but
then you're just like, is this a big cycle?
Yeah.
Like, every 70 years the ship comes back
comes back.
But then I'm sure there'd be some sort of history about it.
Vampire, that's what they explain. This is the origin of vampires.
Right.
These are the original vampires. And I'm like, okay.
But then, you know, when we see like the vampire, the creature at the front of the cathedral, when he stabbed and he turns into the bat creature that we'd seen on the spaceship. So we're like, so those were them. So why have they got human form when there's the bat form?
She explains
Did
that.
they leave their bat creature formed
No.
life force and put them into human hosts?
She explains that they are all of the creatures on board were feeding off of each other and were destroying each other, and they were the last three. And before the astronauts came on board, she was awake. She, you know, suspended animation. She took the form. The other two guys took the male form.
But she explains that she took the form of
the
what
woman
was
in
what
the back
was
of
in
his mind.
Exactly. So it's like, well, how did she do that?
And that's why Carlson is fully in love with her. You know, because she is
created from his own psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Kane comes up with the sword and is shouting down, and Carlson reaches up. Kane throws the sword down. He impales both of them, you know, through the energy point. They both go flying up the blue light into the spaceship, and the spaceship flies off.
The end. You want more explanation? Tough. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's it. Space vampires are done.
The whole film was kind of bonkers, crazy, batshit crazy. It may as well just end it on a high note.
Like I wanted the ship to explode.
I wanted to come back 70 years from now
with the two of them impaled. Because
their life force have kind of returned to the ship, which has powered the ship, which may have woken up all of the other dormant.
If there's any, I think they're all. Is the ship?
Yeah. I'm like, in about 40 years from now, I want a remake.
Yeah.
Or a sequel.
Oh,
where it comes back when Halley's Comet returns.
Yeah, totally a remake, but technically a sequel.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So you got favourite scenes from the film, Iain?
Oh man, I kind of cheat because any of the sequences with Mathilda May in are really, really good.
Surprisingly, in the near 2-hour film, she's only in 7 minutes of it.
I know, and so memorable. like when I think Lifeforce, I think Mathilda May, and then I think crazy zombie husks running around. I think, you know, Lifeforce being drained. Like the autopsy sequence is amazing. Then watch Dr. Falladae talking about the creatures coming back after 2 hours. You know, is amazing, and then blowing themselves up. You know, the blood sequence, just amazing. Like even the talking points, and I know that the film suffers a heavy reputation of being pretty shit, you know, and of being a commercial failure for Canon, which it's a shame because I really like Canon.
You're right.
You know, but even the talking points with like Patrick Stewart and Dr. Falladae, you know, and the defense minister talking to Kane, the explanation and the science behind the film is pretty hardcore and cement. You know,
Yeah, there are so many great and memorable moments from the film. Like you said, Mathilda May, even though she's only in 7 minutes of the film, she is so memorable. She kind of haunts the entire film. And when anyone ever goes Lifeforce, it's the first thing you think of.
the eyes with the contact lenses, with the swirls.
Yeah, with the swirls. Yeah, very, very well done. Yeah, I love the guard puppet and the and when it attacks them. The other vampire thing exploding at the bars.
Yeah.
The woman puppet exploding. Just some great practical effects.
The streets of London.
Oh, the streets of London and the vampire bat creature at the cathedral. Yeah, some great moments.
Yeah.
There really are. And so, yeah, you know what? This film flopped on its initial release, and despite the mixed and the positive reviews, which, this film remains a guilty pleasure. But it gets a massive recommendation from me, as it's at least worth a watch for its creative practical effects, its decent visual effects and optical work, which still look good today. The story is interesting and contains some great sci-fi moments and explores vampirism in a pretty unique way. The music by Henry Mancini is very fitting and epic, and it perfectly blends the action with the horror moments. There are some great and memorable performances, and the cast do a great job with the dialogue and make it sound very serious. Mathilda May will also leave quite an impression with her very naked performance. The film does feel disjointed and very dreamlike, but Tobe Hooper, he pulls it all together in the end. This is a cult movie. This is a fucking cult classic.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking this when I was watching the film. Like, I need to go back and re-watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I've seen it a couple of times, and it's crazy, batshit insane, but I really like Invaders from Mars as well, and everyone says that's fucking shit, and I really love that movie nostalgically. Lifeforce, like Gary says, is a cult classic. It perfectly mixes the sci-fi and horror elements together, where you're like, this really shouldn't work, but after a while, 2 hours into it, explosions are kicking off, and you're like, we need to kill her now. Oh, she's naked, awesome, I give myself over to her. You have to watch Lifeforce.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Just a little more. Just a little more.